The vast expanse of space stretched out before the graceful vessel, its smooth lines gliding effortlessly through the stars. The ship belonged to the Nereians, an aquatic mammal species renowned for their aesthetic sensibilities and advanced shipbuilding techniques. Each vessel in the Nereian fleet was a work of art, shimmering with a glossy finish that mirrored the beauty of their oceanic home world. A proud hallmark of their vessels, they would all look sleek and graceful in water as they did out among the stars. Captain Elara, a veteran of many voyages, leaned back in her command chair, her sleek, blue-gray form reflecting the soft light of the control panels. Her eyes, large and expressive, surveyed the view outside with a mixture of pride and contentment. The Nereian ship, Serene Wave, had docked at a small spaceport on the edge of the Calypso Nebula, a routine stop to replenish supplies and exchange information with other species. Among the ships docked at the port, one stood out like a parasite on a pristine shell. The human vessel, Vanguard, was an eyesore, its blocky, angular structure a stark contrast to the elegant curves of the Nereian design. Elara had heard of the humans, the newest spacefaring race to venture beyond their birth system, but this was her first encounter with one of their ships. She found it hard to believe that any species could willingly create something so ugly. Why would they design their ships like that? Elara mused aloud, her voice carrying the melodic quality typical of her kind. Perhaps it is an aesthetic they find pleasing, suggested Officer Lyral, her second in command, whose sleek form mirrored Elara's. Or perhaps they prioritize function over form. Elara nodded, though she found the idea puzzling. The human ship was a patchwork of blocky shapes clumped together tightly, lacking any of the rounded, flowing lines that characterized Nereian craftsmanship. As the Serene Wave resupplied, Elara watched with a mixture of curiosity and disdain as human crew members moved around their eyesore of a vessel with practiced efficiency. Loading drones moved in through assorted docking bays and cargo bays. Curiosity got the better of Elara and she commanded passive scan, directed at that thing. If they can detect it and inquire, I will claim it is standard to scan the system, and they were caught in the scanning arc. She smiled to herself, satisfied with her made-up excuse in case the primitive ugly ship had equipment advanced enough to detect the scan. Chief Sensor Officer Kaoru replied to the command scan underway. He then tapped the screen. This can't be right. According to our scanners, their power plant is equal to one of our small shuttles, and I am detecting zero armaments. There was laughter from the crew as Elara stood and made her way over to the console to double-check the instruments. She muttered, "They are so lucky the galactic neighborhood is peaceful," shaking her head in disbelief. How did they even get out of their birth system with such a small power plant? Someone joked maybe it's a generational ship. There was more laughter. The peace of the spaceport was shattered by the sudden blare of alarms. Red lights flashed, and the calm murmur of the port turned into a cacophony of panic. Pirates! Elara's heart sank. Pirate attacks were rare but deadly, especially in this remote part of space. All hands to battle stations. Decouple us from the station as quickly as possible, she commanded, her voice steady despite the rising tension. Her officers didn't need to be told the stakes and chirped back commands and states of readiness as they moved into action. With her ship moving to action as an afterthought, she commanded, alert the humans of the issue. With their power level and limited technology, they probably aren't even aware of the danger yet. The Serene Wave's defensive systems activated, but Elara knew their sleek, unarmored vessel was ill-suited for prolonged combat. The Nereians had always relied on their speed and agility to avoid conflict rather than confront it head-on. Locked into a starport was the worst possible position to be caught in. Through the viewport, Elara saw the pirate ships emerging from the darkness, their angular, predatory forms closing in. Her gaze shifted to the human vessel, and she felt a pang of pity. The Vanguard was an easy target, its ungainly shape seemingly defenseless against the approaching threat. Suddenly the view of the pirates was blocked by the view of the Vanguard. Her first thought was the Serene Wave was turning the wrong way, and she was just about to scold her navigator when the humans replied to the earlier contact. "This is Vanguard, thank you for the warning and for staying out of the way." The speaker sounded blissfully calm. In the background she heard other humans. They were speaking their own language, but it sounded calm, practiced. It seemed the humans were completely unaware of the danger they faced, but then, something remarkable happened. As the pirates drew closer, the Vanguard seemed to come alive. Every ugly blocky surface shifted, it was suddenly uglier and almost looked alive, like a cuttlefish puffing up to bristle with sharp spines to ward off predators. The sensor officer made a strange noise, The captain, fearing the worst, turned to Kaora report. Looking back at the captain and then back at the console, the human ship, they are now generating more power than one of our heavy cruisers, and the sensors are reporting. He stared out the viewport as if he had to see it to believe it. It's all weapons. The captain, not understanding snap, makes sense. What is all weapons? Kaora simply pointed out the viewport, staring wide-eyed, a mix of fear and awe. Ilara turned and watched in stunned silence as the Vanguard unleashed a devastating barrage. Energy beams and missiles streaked through the void, striking the pirate ships with pinpoint accuracy. The ugly human vessel revealed the function of each blocky surface, as they turned, revealing a dizzying array of weapons turrets. The communication channel was still open. The only thing scarier than the level of destruction the ugly human ship was dishing out was the calm demeanor and seeming dispassionate nature of the humans firing the weapons. The pirates might have been the only ones more surprised by the nature of the human ship. Explosions lit up the darkness briefly as they vented atmosphere into space one by one. Just as soon as it had started, it was over. 2 pirate ships survived, and on a broad communication channel the captain of the Vanguard spoke in broken galactic common. "I hope we have your attention. You smaller ship will not survive jumping to FTL. If you take no hostile actions, you may move the crew and only crew to your larger ship. You will then leave immediately and make your leaders aware of how the humans deal with pirates. Any other course of action, and the other half of my batteries will fire." The Vanguard, as if eager to follow up its threat with action, held its position between the spaceport and the pirates. The pirates, for their part, took the threat seriously and within minutes had evacuated the smaller ship and jumped back to FTL with the larger ship. Once the danger passed, the ugly human ship slowly morphed back to its angular blocky form. The design allows scanner dampening stealth technology within the hull to hide its weapons and true power plant level. The humans returned to business as usual at the spaceport, finishing their business as if there had been no incident with pirates at all. As the ship left port, it moved to the debris field and scavenger drones sorted through some of the wreckage. Some of the crew took a moment to spacewalk and snap pictures of the carnage like it was one big tourist attraction. Meanwhile, the Serene Wave kept scanners active and just hoped the humans didn't mind. The ugly human ship, the one she had discredited as being archaic, hideous, the ones her crew had joked about being an ancient junker of a generational ship, all fresh in her memory. Captain Ilara recorded everything she could, knowing there would be questions back home. Humans were thought of as primitive, and perhaps in many ways they were. "Captain," Lyral said softly, breaking Ilara's reverie. "I must admit, I underestimated humans. Their ship is terrifying." Ilara nodded, her expression somber. "Yes, Lyral. It is. They may not share our appreciation for beauty, but they have their own strengths. We would do well to remember that." Almost to herself, Lyral spoke softly. "It was loading like a freighter. Is that a standard freighter?" The entire crew stared back at her as the thought was shared. As the stars streaked past the viewport, Ilara couldn't shake the image of the Vanguard, its angular form bristling with hidden weapons. The human ships were ugly, yes, but in a way that was far more profound and terrifying than she had ever imagined. And as she drifted into a restless sleep, Ilara knew that the nightmares would come, nightmares of a new species with ships as ugly as sin and as deadly as the void itself.